Your sister was unemployed for almost 2 years after being laid off, and during that time, she got accustomed to staying home with her 2 children. Now that she's starting a new job, she reached out to you for help, asking if you could watch her kids while she works, since you're a stay-at-home mom yourself. Initially, you agreed to help out, but then your sister presented a long list of demands. These included a strict daily schedule for the kids, which you knew would disrupt your own children's routines. She also provided a detailed menu of what you could and couldn't feed her kids, because they follow a healthy whole food diet. You felt overwhelmed by these demands and told your sister that her expectations were unrealistic. You emphasized that you weren't going to accommodate her schedule or make separate meals for her kids while watching them for free. When your sister offered to buy the organic food, you pointed out that she was already tight on money and that it wasn't your responsibility to cater to her specific requests. You made it clear that your primary obligation was to your own children, and you weren't willing to change your household's routine to fit her needs. As a result, you firmly declined to babysit. After you declined, your sister expressed concern about how this would affect her children's routine and suggested that they might have tummy aches if they ate differently. You reiterated that you wouldn't be watching her kids under those conditions and called out her unrealistic expectations, especially given her financial situation. She then tried to find another solution, but you maintained your stance. Since then, your sister hasn't spoken to you, and your mother has attempted to mediate, although she agrees with your viewpoint that your sister's demands were unreasonable. Many people see your side of the situation, recognizing that your children's comfort and routine should take priority. As for your own experiences, you recently had an uncomfortable situation at a party hosted by your girlfriend Anne's coworker, Joe, and had invited you to this party. But you felt like an outsider in the discussions, particularly among Anne, Joe, and a few others. Joe had a reputation for boasting about his achievements, especially his amateur music career and YouTube channel, which you found off-putting. As the party wound down, Joe mentioned he was having an after-party at his house, but only and was invited, which you found disrespectful. When you confronted him about it, he dismissed your concerns and revealed that Anne had already accepted his invitation without your knowledge. This upset you, and when you texted in to find out her whereabouts, she left you on read and didn't respond. You then saw her arrive home in Joe's car early the next morning, which intensified your feelings of betrayal and anger, and seemed casual and unbothered by your presence. Even joking with Joe, which made you feel sidelined in your relationship. Once she walked inside, you expressed your discontent and made it clear that you were ending things with her, feeling deeply hurt by her actions and the lack of respect for your feelings, and was initially confused when I told her she needed to move out. I suggested that she could move in with Joe, but she rolled her eyes and dismissed my suggestion. Instead, she launched into a lengthy argument about my insecurities and how I was imagining things. I insisted that it didn't matter, but after some back and forth, she begrudgingly thanked me, sarcastically claiming I had wasted the best years of her life. Eventually, she did move out yesterday and the whole situation turned dramatic. As she was leaving, she told me she loved me and accused me of throwing everything away over a party. Now I'm left wondering if I did the wrong thing. I feel like I'm being gaslighted. At the party, she left me behind to go to another party without informing me and didn't respond when I reached out. Her actions made it clear that I wasn't a priority for her. Her colleagues seemed far more important to her. It's baffling to me how someone could leave their partner stranded at a party and then turn around and blame them for being upset about it. It feels like I was just a safety net for her, someone she expected to wait for her and take care of her without reciprocation. She returned home at 5:42 a.m., which raised even more suspicions about what happened that night. The way she dismissed my concerns and insisted nothing happened screamed of cheating. Her excuses, like saying nothing happened and that I was being insecure, only added to my doubts. I feel justified in kicking her out. If I have mutual friends, I plan to let them know what happened so they understand why I ended things. I believe I deserve better than being cheated on and then blamed for my feelings. Regarding another matter, I invited some of my friends over last week for a casual get-together, since it had been a while since we all caught up. Everyone has their own lives, with jobs and kids, so I was looking forward to reconnecting. I didn't think too hard about the food because my mom always said gatherings are about spending time together rather than the food itself. I prepared a few boxes of mac and cheese and chicken nuggets, along with beer for everyone. When it was time to eat, I suggested everyone grab a bowl. To my surprise, they reacted as if I had served them something unusual. They expressed that it was strange for me to invite them for dinner, but serve what they considered to be kids' food. I was taken aback because for me, mac and cheese and nuggets aren't just for kids. I enjoy them regularly, even at 33. Two friends outright refused to eat, saying they hadn't touched chicken nuggets since childhood, and made exaggerated faces of disgust. Now I'm left wondering if I was in the wrong for serving boxed mac and cheese. I thought the emphasis was on us being together and catching up, but I guess they expected a more elaborate meal from me. I felt disheartened that the evening didn't go as I had hoped, and I'm struggling to understand why my choice of food upset them. As a side note, the boxed mac and cheese I served wasn't the typical Kraft brand. It was Annie's, which I thought was a better quality. One person commented that my meal resembled an 18-year-old's first dinner in an unfurnished dorm. While I understand that spending time together is essential, there's also an expectation of decent food when inviting friends over. Many people don't view chicken nuggets as a meal once they reach adulthood. It's typically something they eat when they're rushed or don't have time for a proper meal, not what they'd anticipate at a planned gathering. It's not necessary to prepare a fancy dinner either. A simple cheese and wine gathering could have sufficed, where I could have set out a nice assortment of cheeses and crackers. Imagine being a parent who finds a sitter and looks forward to enjoying an adult evening, only to be served stereotypical kids' food. There were no veggies or anything resembling a balanced meal. It was just processed, unhealthy options. Just because I enjoy kids' food doesn't mean that most adults would find it acceptable for a gathering. I understand that I could have done better in terms of hospitality. Instead of just opting for mac and cheese, I could have considered other easy options like ordering pizza or barbecue. At my age, I realize I should aim for something more mature than simply serving mac and cheese. In another incident, when my daughter was 16, my nephew, who was 9 at the time, decided to let my sister's cat out as a prank. He only admitted it a day later, finding humor in the situation despite my sister's devastation when the cat went missing. After days of searching, the cat was never found. My sister was apologetic and tried to discipline him. But for understandable reasons, my immediate family never saw my nephew again. He was forced to apologize, but he did so sarcastically, and even as an adult, he hasn't grasped the severity of his actions. I believe my sister tried her best as a mother, especially since her other 2 children turned out fine. Recently, she asked my daughter if she could move in for a few weeks or months. My daughter initially agreed, but then rescinded her offer once she learned why my nephew and his girlfriend needed a place to stay. They were being evicted due to the girlfriend's illegal drug use, which complicated the situation further. In this situation, a nephew's girlfriend is asked to move out so that the nephew and his children can continue living in the home of the aunt, who has a flat. The girlfriend reluctantly agrees to this arrangement, understanding that the alternative would leave everyone, including the children, homeless. The daughter of the aunt feels this decision is unreasonable and believes that the nephew and his girlfriend are manipulating the situation for their own benefit. The daughter has a long-standing grudge against the nephew, stemming from an incident involving her cat years ago. She expressed to her mother, the aunt, that she does not want to support what she perceives as manipulation by her nephew, particularly since he has a history of using his children as emotional leverage. When the aunt discusses this with her daughter, she asks her to let go of the grudge and think about the children's well-being. The daughter remains firm in her stance, feeling that enabling the nephew would ultimately harm everyone involved. The aunt believes that if the nephew and his girlfriend stay, they will likely take over her flat permanently, making it difficult for her to reclaim her space if issues arise. The overall sentiment from the daughter is that the aunt is being too accommodating, risking her own comfort and home life for the sake of people who may not have her best interests at heart. The daughter feels her mother is being manipulated by her nephew, and her concerns are rooted in a desire to protect her mother from becoming a doormat in a potentially exploitative situation. In this scenario, the narrator's mother is getting married in January, and her fiancé has a young daughter named Mia, who is in kindergarten. The narrator met Mia a year ago, and while Mia quickly developed a close bond with her mother, the narrator has not felt the same connection. As the wedding approaches, the mother and her fiancé suggest that they take sibling photos with Mia to celebrate the new blended family. Mia is enthusiastic about this idea and begins picking out outfits, but the narrator feels pressured and uninterested. She doesn't want to participate in the photo session because she doesn't see Mia as her sister and is planning to move out shortly after her 18th birthday. When the narrator expresses her reluctance, her mother seems surprised and disappointed, assuming that her daughter is excited about the idea of having a new sibling. The narrator explains that her busy life, filled with school, work, and friends, has prevented her from spending significant time with Mia, which is why she doesn't feel close to her. Despite this, the mother and her fiancé encourage her to put on a facade of enthusiasm for Mia's sake. The fiancé becomes angry when the narrator insists she doesn't want to take part in the photo session, suggesting that she should be more accommodating because it's a small request that means a lot to Mia. The narrator feels conflicted because she doesn't want to hurt Mia's feelings, but at the same time, she doesn't want to be forced into a sibling relationship that she isn't comfortable with. The narrator recognizes the pressure her mother is placing on her to bond quickly with Mia, yet she believes it's unrealistic to expect an almost adult to form a close relationship with a young child under these circumstances. In addition, the narrator is concerned about being expected to babysit Mia during the wedding, a responsibility she does not want. She plans to clarify her boundaries with her mother about not being willing to babysit, while also considering ways to participate in the wedding day on her own terms, such as bringing a friend.